What's up, guys? Brian here with KME Tech Support. Going to do another frequently asked question video today. Get the question quite often, why is my knife getting wider at the tip as I sharpen it? So most of the time it's nothing that you're doing wrong. It's generally the knife. A lot of knives, just by the nature of the beast, get thicker when we're near the tip. It's for tip strength, it's for the knife design, and it's going to get wider as we sharpen at the same angle. This is a Stedman with a saber ground, flat ground blade, and it gets wider at the tip because we're going up. If this happened to go straight across like a cleaver, it would remain the same thickness along the whole bevel. But because we're going up into thicker steel as we move up the blade, it's going to get wider by the nature of the beast. So it's pretty much the same thickness bevel through here. Once we get to about here, it starts widening, and it just gets wider as you go. This is another good example. This is an Attleboro knife made by Millet Knives, which Millet was a crew of guys that left Chris Reeve, and they used the high hollow grind. So this is a hollow ground knife, and behind the edge through here is the same thickness, but again, as we start going up into the thicker steel, that bevel's going to widen. It's got dust all over it, but it's just going to widen every time you sharpen it. So no big deal. You know, some guys worry about it for aesthetics, but if you look at a lot of custom makers like Gavco, Tough Thumbs, they get wider on purpose out near the tip. It's for tip strength, it's for looks. There's WE knives that have a really wide front bevel. Chris Reeve Tonto comes to mind. So just don't worry about it if it happens to do that. With other knives, if they happen to stay the same thickness behind the edge out towards the tip, if the company has consciously thought about that, then we can do a couple things to keep that bevel looking consistent. This knife's already been sharpened, but I've put it in using the imaginary heel to tip line. So in that case, when I start to sharpen this knife, the Sharpie up here at the tip is only going to be removed from the front or the top of the bevel. And if I wanted to remove all of the Sharpie, I can adjust it in the clamp. So don't be stuck on using the heel to tip line, because that'll get you a wider tip in some scenarios. This knife, I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the clamp now, remains the same thickness. I've already done videos on this knife. It's got a high polish, and you can see that bevel stays the same thickness the whole way. And it's hard to focus on that bright edge, but it doesn't get thicker at the tip, it doesn't get thicker at the heel, it remains consistent behind the bevel. And had I sharpened it with the heel to tip line, it wouldn't, it would have gotten wider. So what you have to do there in that scenario is move the knife using the traditional clamp, using the line, the reference line on the jaws, lining it up with the spine or the edge, the straight edge. And then with this knife, I started sharpening it today, and it brought all this up for me to make the vid. The Sharpie was removed everywhere with the exception of the tip. It was only removing up on the top half of the bevel. So had I continued with the heel to tip line, with the knife canted out more this way, then it would have widened that tip as I sharpened it, even though I didn't have to. So in this case, I moved the knife tip towards the jaws more, brought it back in, lined it up with the reference lines, and then the Sharpie was being removed consistently. So as I sharpen this knife, it's not as bright, so it's going to show up better. It's going to remain that nice same thickness for the whole bevel. So be willing to play with your knife in the clamp. Use the Sharpie, trust the Sharpie. Don't be set and dead set on that heel to tip line method, because it's not always the best. It does give us the least amount of angle change overall as we sharpen, but again, depending on the knife, you might not want to do that if it's going to widen your tip or do something funky. So take that into consideration. Hope this helps someone. Give me a shout if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.